Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our study. Now, today we're going to look at Lecture 6, Principles of Consumption. So, in this lecture, we'll discuss the general principle of consumption. I guess the modern economy is very much consumption-driven. However, many economic problems are rooted in consumption. So, in this lecture, we'll first focus on the most fundamental and physical driver of consumption, which is human wants. And then we'll illustrate how the system of rights are used by the ancient sages as a practical and efficient tool to deal with many of the modern problems of consumption. So, we know that desire is something that everyone is born with, right? It's not a skill to be acquired or something need to be told. It's fairly natural. I guess except a few true sages like Shakyamuni Buddha, Confucius, Mencius, Jesus, Muhammad, Mohandas Gandhi, etc. Almost everyone has material wants, and a lot of it. Confucius said that a human lives in an enjoyment of all flavors, the discriminating of all notes of harmony, and the enrobing of all colors. From the writing of Sima Qian in the last lecture, if you remember, we know that these likings and dislikings of the five senses of man are the drivers of consumption. Also, the consequential production process and all the commercial activities that make it happen. Now, what about Confucius' teaching, and what does that have to do with a human feeling? Well, Confucius' teaching is a very practical one. Now, although the ultimate purpose of his teaching is to liberate mankind from suffering and to achieve enlightenment, just like the Buddha's teaching, Confucius takes the feelings of man as the basis of his philosophy, because otherwise his teaching will not be understood or accepted. So, in his own words, Confucius said, the feelings of man being the field to be cultivated, men would look up to the sages as to their landlords. Now, in fact, the ancient Chinese governing principles are also based on human feeling. For example, in the Book of Rites, according to Confucius, man has 7 feelings, which are given to him by nature and not by learning or anything like that. And these are joy, anger, sadness, fear, love, hatred, and desire. Now, among all of these 7 feelings, the last 2, hatred and desire, are the strongest of all. Confucius also said, the things which men greatly desire are comprehended in food and drink and sexual pleasure. Those which they greatly dislike are comprehended in death, exile, poverty, and suffering. Therefore, liking and disliking are the great elements in men's minds. Well, I think this is very true. I mean, if you ask anybody around us, nobody voluntarily likes to be in a poor and lowly position. Nobody. So everybody wants to be rich and powerful. Anybody who wants to get married at some point, I guess, would like to marry a good-looking person, right? So that's a natural want. Now, apart from Confucius, Mencius also said that the appetite of food and of sex is the nature of men. Again, he said, a beautiful woman is what man desires. Wealth is what man desires. Political dignity is what man desires. Now, of course, this is not limited to male, but also applied to female as well. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is the ancient sages knew very well about human feelings. So no matter how spiritual a person may be, the economic wants are the cornerstone of human society. And human society is the basis for both ethics and economics. So I guess in order to lead mankind up to a higher ethical and spiritual level, the ancient sages and the governing principles of ancient China start from the foundation of human society, which is human desire, and then direct people towards a higher moral level from there. For example, how should we guide people in their pursuit of wealth and honor? Now, we can set a moral condition before giving out positions and paying salaries, right? We grant the virtuous persons with high position and titles, and enrich those people who make real contribution to the wealth of nation. So this way, everybody pursues a high morality and pursues a path of making contribution to the country. Well, that sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Well, it was done before, so let's do it again. But to be able to do that, let's take it slow and learn the principle step by step. Now, coming back to the discussion of human desire, we know very clearly that sages recognize human desire. We know that now. So we ask the question, what are the views of ancient sages about human desire? What do they think? Well, Confucius and his followers, they do not mean to extinguish desire. But the problem is, human wants and human desires have no limit. Well, some may say that, human wants are greater now because of all the materials and products around us that distract us. Well, in the ancient time, people had limited supply, so they wanted less. Well, unfortunately, this view is incorrect because human nature has never changed. Xun Zi illustrated this point very clearly in his writing. He said, people satisfy their mouth and appetite with delicacies, satisfy their sense of beauty with silk cloth, and people want better carriages to travel in. So Xun Zi pointed out that people, do not stop there. After they have satisfied their need for survival, they, simply accumulate surpluses. Well, I guess if there's anything that humans do with any degree of consistency, the activity of feeding the mouth, covering the body with nice clothes, and getting a bigger car has never stopped, ever since mankind walked the earth, I suppose. And with the advancement of technology and increasing number of consumer products, this activity can only occupy more of our lives. Despite of this fact, have we ever stopped for a moment and asked ourselves, when is enough? Probably not. Now, for the stereotype mentality, the asking of this question is immediately assigned to a negative tone, as in, oh, people are too greedy. Well, unfortunately, this is an oversimplification of our situation, and that's not what the sages meant. How we respond to this question is one thing, but whether we are able to ask this question is quite another. Now, for many of us, we have never thought about this question before. The reason for that is that we simply do not know why we consume. Why? And we also do not know the consequence of endless desire. In illustrating his midway view on human desire, Confucius said, the desire should not be indulged. pleasure should not be carried to excess. In other words, although man naturally has desires, he shouldn't be enslaved by his desire. Now the question is why? Why didn't Confucius extinguish desire altogether? Why are we allowed to have the satisfaction of desire? And why do we also want to put a string on it and have it under control? Why? And also, how do we control that? So I guess these questions are both economic and ethical. But ultimately, the purpose of any economic management or policy making is human happiness, as we've mentioned, time and time again. So we should definitely understand true human happiness and use that as a guideline when evaluating the appropriate degree of consumption.